We're going to take a look at a number of issues, and we're going to step through each one chronologically. The first issue that we'll look at is Congressman Weber's support for President Trump. In June of 2015, Donald Trump came down the escalator and announced his campaign touting immigration and the wall. 3 months later, in September of 2015, Congressman Weber announced his support for Texas Senator Ted Cruz. The statement put out by the congressman uses explicit language calling out the senator by name and expressly stating that he is the most qualified candidate. In May of 2016, Senator Cruz ended his campaign after losing Texas to Donald Trump. Congressman Weber then issued this statement, calling out Senator Cruz's campaign as honorable and refusing to say Trump's name, only asserting that we must, quote, do what is necessary to prevent Hillary Clinton from taking the White House. Most news stories quoted this press release, which has since been removed from the Congress's website. As you can see, there were no additional verbal or written statements made by the congressman. From this point until the election, Congressman Weber made no more statements and did not give an endorsement, support, or even mention Trump on social media, outside of 2 tweets, which were really digs at Hillary. Seen here are all 4 tweets by the congressman mentioning Trump in 2016, and 2 of those came after Trump won the election. On October 9, 2016, less than 1 month before the election, the Texas Tribune published an article denoting which Texas congressmen supported and which opposed candidate Trump. They placed Congressman Weber within a group of Texas congressmen that were either opposed to Trump or who had refused to take a position. Congressman Weber was one of only 3 Texas congressmen that fell into this category. The following day, KVUE reiterated that the congressman had not made any statements with respect to Trump and placed Congressman Weber in that same category as opposed or unknown. On October 17th, just days before the election, the Texas Observer noted again that the only statement that Congressman Weber had made with respect to Trump was the press release he made when Senator Cruz ended his campaign. That link was still active when the article was published, but it has since been deleted. On November 8, 2016, Donald Trump won the presidency. Fast forward to October 17, 2019, Congressman Weber appeared on Red, White, and Blue, where he asserted that he supported Trump from the beginning, that he knew that he was going to win, and that he told his wife and staff as much.
I go back to when Trump was running. When he got the nomination for the Republican nomination for president,
Did you support him?
Yes, sir. And I was saying back then, and I told my staff, some of them who are here today, I told my staff and my bride of almost 43 years, this coming November 6th, I said, he's going to win this. They said, he's going to win this. I said, he will win this, the White House. How can you say that? The polls have Hillary up by 9 percentage points. I said, forget the polls. There's a lot of mad Americans out there that want him to get in there and make a drastic change. He will win this, mark my words.
Why would a congressman that refused to say Trump's name now make such a claim when it can be so easily refuted? The explanation is simple.
Well, I can speak for my district. My district is solidly behind Trump.
Indeed, the basis of Congressman Weber's re-election campaign was tying him to President Trump. In an I-45 Now interview, he stated that he and Trump shared almost all economic views.
So, on business and things like that, my policies and his are in lockstep.
He touted Trump's endorsement in debates, in speeches, and in campaign literature.
For you, I am your anti-socialistic, anti-illegal immigration, gun-toting, Trump-supporting congressman. That's why.
Congressman Weber even went as far as claiming that he invented the term America First.
It's no secret he wants to put America first, or he wants to make America great again. If you actually went back to my staff, and when I was running for first re-election to replace Ron Paul in 2012, and our staff when we got in office there in Washington, D.C., I had said for a long time, it's time to put America first again. And I wish I'd have coined that phrase, but I didn't. I didn't have it on my, my advertising literature, marketing, my campaign literature. So when he came on board in 2015, he was using "Make America Great Again." I thought that sounds familiar.
For the congressman's campaign that year, 3 workers gave out the bulk of the literature at the polls for the congressman. Let's take a look at those workers now. The first worker is pictured here, and he was a Republican precinct chair named Sean Byers. Just after that election, where Byers handed out flyers touting Trump's endorsement of Weber, Byers sought out the news and made these statements that he did not and would not vote for Trump. Byers' views on this matter were well known, and he is no longer a precinct chair after this, and instead, he went to work fundraising for Democratic-supported campaigns. Here he is just a few months later, working with liberal school board member Jay Cunningham, and wearing shirts targeting the two remaining conservative school board members. The worker that likely gave out the most literature for Congressman Weber was a lifelong friend who often drove the congressman's wife to and from the polling location, including the day of this recording.
Trump is an asshole. Let's get that straight. And I've told him that. I asked him one time, I want you to give me one trait that you would like to see from him carried down to your children. And they can't do it. Now, when I go in there and I pull the trigger, I am not voting for Trump. And I am not voting for Ted Cruz. I ain't doing it. I can't do it. He's not brave. He's a draft dodger, Josh.
Well, I don't agree with that term at all.
Why? He dodged the military, Josh.
I don't think he did.
And Josh, he got 5 deferments, Josh.
A lot of people get deferments. That's different
Okay,
from dodging.
he got, no, it's not. It's the same thing. He got 5 deferments because a doctor wrote a letter that said he had bone spurs. He went on Howard Stern and said, my contribution to the Vietnam War was not getting gonorrhea when I was going in and out of the clubs. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that this guy that they just got for rape, this Epstein, do you think he's a scumbag?
Sure.
Why? So you believe all the women that said what they said?
Sure.
You believe the 27 women that have made allegations against Donald Trump? The economy is better, or do you think that the stock market is up? There's a difference. We are $1 trillion in debt, Josh. $1 trillion?
All of these things you're saying, the guy you're supporting voted for.
I understand. So back to the question, do you have one thing in him, one character trait that you would love to have your kids have?
I think for the most part he says what he means, and he means
No, he
what
doesn't.
says.
He's 6,000 lies since he's been in the White House. Can you look at me and tell me that that man is not a pathological liar, Josh?
Remember, this isn't an outsider or an opponent telling you that Congressman Weber is lying about his views. This is a lifelong friend and a campaign worker telling you that.
But you're working for somebody. You're telling people he's got the president's back. He's got the president's endorsement. He's the president's guy.
You know what? Have you ever been in a situation in a job where you had to make life is a shit sandwich, and you hope somebody makes it out of fresh bread? There are things that you have to do to survive in this world. Think of what it would be without him. Let's just say that he went against the president and gets primaried out, and they put some asshole in there who comes in and so what do you do? It's
who's he you're telling?
No, I'm saying anybody that went against Randy. So let's just say he stabs the president in the back and he says Trump's an ignorant son of a bitch, and a primary and he's out. Now we got somebody in there that doesn't have the drag, maybe doesn't have the concern for the neighborhood that Randy, but you ought to be around those people. Randy Weber is your congressman?
Yep.
Appreciate you.
It should be noted that what Trump needed most in his campaign was public establishment support, and Congressman Weber could have provided that. There would be no reason to hold back if, as the congressman stated, he knew that Trump was going to win and he shared his views. There is no such thing as private support in politics, and no one follows that rule harder than Congressman Weber. He doesn't even do charity events for little girls without getting an endorsement.
He came to my toy drive for Texas Children's Hospital. He handed out toys to all the cancer children with a smile. All he wanted was a hug for gratitude.
Now let's look at Congressman Weber's support for the wall. Again, Trump began touting the wall as soon as he announced his candidacy in June of 2015. In May of 2016, Senator Cruz suspended his campaign, making Trump the GOP nominee. 2 months later, Congressman Weber filed the Posse Act. That legislation called for some fencing along the border, as well as an unspecified increase in Border Patrol agents. The congressman asserted that this is a return to, quote, common sense border security, end quote. The obvious inference here being that anything else, most notably a wall, is not commonsensical. In November of 2016, Trump won the presidency. 1 month later, Congressman Weber was quoted by the Texas Tribune as not being supportive of a full wall, and claimed that he now had eminent domain concerns when it came to a wall. In March of 2017, The Daily Commercial put out an article noting that not a single Texas GOP congressman was willing to give a full endorsement of the wall, and cited Congressman Weber's statement on the need to, quote, have a discussion on the matter. By the elections of 2018 and 2020, the congressman was touting both his desire to complete the wall as well as his supposed success in building it. He called finishing the wall a priority of his. In 2018, 2019, and 2020, a number of funding and stimulus bills passed through the House. This included $1.3 trillion in 2018, $1.4 trillion in 2019, and $2.2 trillion in 2020. Despite now supposedly supporting the wall, Congressman Weber made no effort to secure funding for the wall in any of those bills, despite the fact that total funding would have been just a few percentage of any of those bills.